Florida Panthers or New York Islanders. It'll be one of those two teams facing off against our Boston Bruins in the opening round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and we'll discuss the merits of each here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke B. Today is Thursday, April 13th, the final day of the regular season for our Boston Bruins anyways. There's games still on Friday, but I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day throughout this season. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so that you don't miss a thing. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. The field of 16 playoff teams has been set after the New York Islanders clinched their wildcard spot in their final game of the regular season, a win over the Montreal Canadiens. The Florida Panthers already secured their spot thanks to Pittsburgh pooping the bed against the Chicago Blackhawks the other night. What is left to be determined, however, is who finishes in the first wildcard spot and who finishes in the second wildcard spot. Therefore, Boston's opening round opponent. The New York Islanders have finished their regular season schedule, and they are currently in the number one spot. But the Panthers can overtake them by picking up points tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, Carolina is in a fight of their own, looking to secure the top spot in the Metropolitan Division. They're 1 point up on the Devils, both with one game remaining. Carolina's playing the Panthers, Devils playing the Capitals tonight. So the Hurricanes aren't necessarily going to mail it in. They have something to play for here. The Panthers also have something to play for as they can not choose, but, it's either you play the Bruins or you face the winner of the Metropolitan Division. Let's talk about each of these two teams here and also take a look ahead at Boston's season finale tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. First, let's start with the Florida Panthers. The Bruins have played them 4 times this season and have gone 2-1-1. They won the opening matchup back in October by a score of 5-3. They lost 5-2 on November 23rd to drop their record to 17-3 at that time. They pummeled the Panthers on December 19th by a score of 7-3. And then they lost an overtime decision to the Panthers in January 4-3 in overtime. Ullmark played 2 of those games. Swayman played 2, picking up the losses. Ullmark started both wins against Florida this season. And in that overtime loss, it was pre-deadline. Craig Smith picking up a goal in that one, as did Charlie Coyle, David Pastrnak. So the Bruins, Panthers, 2-1-1 record this season for the Boston Bruins. Now, the thing that makes me want to choose the Panthers as the Boston's first round opponent is the fact that they have a ton of offense, but their goaltending a bit suspect. They rank fourth in the conference, or tied for third, I guess, in total goals this season. 286. Buffalo second at 287. New Jersey also at 286. Boston 300. But the Panthers have also allowed 267 goals, which is by far the most among all Eastern Conference playoff teams. They have a ton of talent up front. Matthew Tkachuk, 108 points in 78 games. Possible MVP candidate, to be honest. Alexander Barkov, Brandon Montour, a monster season on the back end. Carter Verhaeghe with 41 goals. Sam Reinhart, 31 goals, 35 assists. But again, their goaltending, not super encouraging. In fact, it's been Alex Lyon getting the Lyon's share of the starts over the last little bit. 14 games, 9-3-2 record with a 916 save percentage. Sergei Bobrovsky, who's their $10 million man, a 901 save percentage on the season. Are they going to start Lyon in the playoffs? Are they going to turn to Bobrovsky, their de facto starter? I mean, it would be tempting to go with the hot hand at the moment, but he's untested, has never appeared in a NHL playoff game. He only has 38 regular season appearances to his credit with a 903 career save percentage. I said many times on the podcast that I fear hot goalies most in the postseason. You can shut down offense. The Bruins have the number one penalty kill in the NHL. They are allowing the fewest goals per game around the NHL. And they can go toe-to-toe with Florida offensively. But if you get goalied or stymied defensively, that could be a problem. And I'm much more worried about the Islanders than the Panthers. And we'll talk about the Islanders here in a moment. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, which is Built Bar. Now, we've been talking about Built Bars on the Locked On Podcast Network for quite some time, and for a good reason. If you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. What makes them good? Well, they're covered in 100% real chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, cookies, and cream. But they also have amazing macros. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 17 grams of protein. You can order a box from Built.com, but now you can head to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get specialty flavors. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, grab a box of Built Bars, or Sam's Club. You can get a 13-bar box with some hit flavors like brownie, batter, puff, and churro. Go ahead, grab a box, and thank me later. All right, so while the Bruins have a winning record against the Panthers this season, 2-1-1, they actually fared better against the Islanders this season than they did the Panthers. They lost the one game in regulation. They also lost one game in overtime. Against the Islanders, they won in a shootout back in December by a score of 4-3. They won 4-1 back in January, and then they won 6-2 on February 18th. Now, Linus Ullmark picked up the win in all 3 of those games, and curiously, it was Semyon Varlamov who started all 3 of those games for the Islanders, which is weird because they have one of the best goalies in the NHL in Ilya Sorokin, and he is the primary reason that I don't want to play the New York Islanders in the playoffs. He's been excellent this season. The New York Islanders allowing only 2.65 goals per game, which is 4th best around the NHL. Boston at 2.1. Then you have Carolina 2.54. The Rangers at 2.63. Islanders tied with the Stars and Wild at 2.65 goals per game. They have a strong defensive system in Sorokin with a 924 save percentage, is up there with Linus Ullmark among the best goalies in the NHL in terms of save percentage. Among goalies with over 30 starts, you have Ullmark at 938. You have Philip Gustafsson in Minnesota at 933. What could the Senators have been if they had kept him instead of flipping him for Cam Talbot? And then you have Sorokin at 924. On the flip side, and someone said this to me on Twitter, picking between the Islanders and Panthers is like picking a team with all offense, no defense, or all defense, little offense. They're led in scoring by Brock Nelson, 75 points in 82 games. Matt Barzal has been out since February, 51 points in 58 games. They don't have anybody who's averaging a point per game for this team. Bo Horvat, 16 points in 30 games, dropping off dramatically from his pace with the Vancouver Canucks earlier this season. In Vancouver, he had 31 goals, 23 assists for 54 points in 49 games, above a point per game. Now he's almost half a point per game for the New York Islanders. Now, if Barzal comes back and they have some chemistry, that will certainly help. But here's the thing with the Islanders. They will struggle to score against a team like the Bruins, but they could also suffocate them offensively. And if the Bruins can't get the power play going, Sorokin makes some big stops. Look, big picture, I'm not very worried about either of these teams. I think Boston could take either in a sweep or even 5 games. 6 might be a stretch. But if there's one that worries me more than the other, it would be the New York Islanders, just because of their strong team defense and Ilya Sorokin. But Boston, of course, has one of the best offenses in the NHL, which helps as well. They rank second in goals per game, 3.65, compared to the Edmonton Oilers at 3.95. Edmonton scored 320 goals. The Bruins are at 296. The Islanders way down at 242, which is the lowest among all playoff teams. And behind the Capitals, Senators, Flames, Penguins, Blues, Canucks, all teams that are outside the playoff picture. So again, I'm not worried about stopping them per se, but more worried about them sucking the fun out of watching the Bruins and suffocating them to the point where we're dealing with 2-1 games every night, or taking it to overtime and it's a bad bounce here, bad bounce there. A series against the Panthers, I think, would be more fun. There'd be more offense. Boston would pile up goals, I believe. And you get Matthew Tkachuk trying to mix it up with Brad Marchand, Tyler Bertuzzi, Garnet Hathaway, Trent Frederick. Take your pick. Matthew Tkachuk wouldn't be able to do it all, score and mix it up, carry his team past the Bruins. That would be a Herculean effort. So all that added up, we're rooting for Carolina to beat Florida tonight so that Florida can stay in the second wildcard spot, and the Bruins Panthers will match up in the opening round. Now, the Bruins do have one game remaining tonight in Montreal. We're going to tee that up here in a moment. But first, a quick word about today's other sponsor, which is Gametime. Now, Gametime is the best place to go to get tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you will have. You can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Just download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Boston, Montreal, wrapping up the season series tonight, wrapping up the regular season tonight with a game at the Bell Center. Montreal coming off a game last night. They were trying to beat the Islanders and keep them from clinching a spot, which did not happen. They lost 4-2. The Canadiens and Bruins have played twice so far this season, Boston winning both by a score of 4-2. Now, there's some question as to who will start tonight. Linus Ullmark, who left Tuesday's game in the third period with muscle tightness, doing better, but is not traveling with the team, keeping him home for precautionary reasons. Brandon Bussi recalled from Providence on an emergency basis, and I would love to see him get the start. I think that would be pretty cool. They're undecided. Goalie coach Bob Essensa is going to help make that decision, see if he is ready to make his NHL debut. David Krejci will miss his 7th straight game, but he will be ready for game 1 of the first round, which is set for Monday. Marathon Day in Boston is going to be huge. I said last night, it'd be cool, so cool if Zdeno Chara runs the marathon, then he comes to the Garden, banner captain for game 1. Thomas Nosek might not play tonight. He was sick yesterday. Both Derek Forbort and Nick Foligno were full participants in practice on Wednesday, and they're checking boxes towards returning to the lineup. Nick Foligno is a huge part of the team. Jim Montgomery said huge part of the bench leadership, and they missed him initially. Others have stepped up, but you can't replicate someone who is actually as unselfish as he is and has the ability to lift others up. Montgomery said he notices when a guy is down. He's got a lot of Bergeron in him that way, unquote. So, yeah, there's going to be some big decisions to make when Foligno is healthy. If he's meant to be in the lineup, then who comes out? That fourth line, do you go Foligno, Frederick, Hathaway, Foligno, Nosek, Hathaway? Where does Frederick go? Do you take him out? I'm not sure. That's going to be a tough decision. Now, we've been talking a lot about the power play lately. Boston has converted on 6 of 13 power play opportunities this month, which is a significant improvement after 2-month stretch of struggling. So hopefully they can keep that going here as the playoffs draw near. Taylor Hall's performance has been strong, creating a lot of chances, getting in rhythm, and Jim Montgomery said they are doing a lot of legwork to get ready for the first round. They're going to have a bit of a conundrum when everybody is healthy. So, again, right now, looking at yesterday's practice lineup, you had the regular top line, Bertuzzi playing with Zacha and Pasternak in Krejci's absence. Hall, Coyle, Foligno was skating on the third line there. And then it was Lauko, Greer skating with Frederick and Hathaway. Anyways, that's the lay of the land heading into tonight's game. A very winnable game for Boston. They have won 7 in a row, 6-0-0 since clinching the President's Trophy. So they're not coasting into the playoffs by any stretch. 9-1 over their last 10. And it'll be, it's always emotional when the Bruins and Canadiens play. Montreal will certainly be looking to finish off strong with a statement win over their rivals, but it should be a game that the Bruins win. Montreal's power play 28th, their penalty kills 29th, their 26th ranked offense, 29th ranked defense, allowing 3.7 goals per game. So this is one that the Bruins should take. We'll see if there's more call-ups for tonight's game. The last couple of years, they've had pretty AHL-heavy lineups, so maybe some other guys will join in Montreal. But based on practice yesterday, it seemed as though they were going to have a pretty regular, heavy lineup in preparation for Game 1, which will be on Monday. On tomorrow's podcast, we'll recap tonight's game, take a look back over the regular season, and then, beginning Monday, we'll be in full playoff mode, and we'll have a preview with either Armando from Locked On Panthers or Gil from Locked On Islanders to get you ready for Game 1. I'm getting hyped, feeling a bit under the weather, hoping to rest up for the weekend. Gonna shave so that we grow the playoff beard from day one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But just to wrap up today, an unbelievable regular season for the Boston Bruins. One we've never seen, one we may never see the likes of again. I know a lot of people are saying cup or bust, but for me, it's been such a pleasure to talk about this team day in and day out, to go over these wins, the camaraderie, the hugs, the new additions, the leadership group, having Brad Marchand on the podcast. How great was that? And hopefully even better things are coming here in the playoffs. And I'll be sure to get some different voices on throughout the playoffs, some Bruins fans, etc., people in Boston to talk about, what we hope will be a long run. So please do subscribe, become an everydayer through the playoffs so that you do not miss a thing. Subscribe to Locked On Bruins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And you can get some breaking bonus news and post-game coverage on the YouTube channel. All right, friends, enjoy tonight's game against the Canadiens. We'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.